Hi, this is Study on Soccer. I am here with Gordy Gurson. I think this guy is, in some places, known as Kid Dynamite, and we have and we have a conversation here going forward. Gordy Gurson, thank you so much for joining me, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Yeah, I'm excited for this.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start from the beginning. I think most of the people that watch, what I'm doing. My whole thing, Gordy, is that what we do is get the people, the fans, to know you guys, to get to know you guys a little deeper. I mean, all of us know what's going on in the field. Love us or hate us, whatever it is, we all know what's going on in the field. But just to get a little bit of history as to what's going on. And you and I, this is an interesting thing that I didn't know until very recently. But you're born in Park Ridge, Illinois, and you grew up in Buffalo Grove.
Yes.
Well, these are two communities that are north of Chicago in Illinois. My dad grew up in Zion, Illinois,
Really?
and yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, before he left Zion to go to, he was there until he went to college. But I was sharing this with Sean Bowers yesterday, talking about my Midwest experiences and stuff. Um, but back when I was like 14 years old, our family tradition was my grandma and grandpa still lived in Zion, right there on Lake Michigan. And one of our family traditions was the kids would go back and visit for a summer and go back and visit the grandparents back in Zion, Illinois. So it was super cool. I mean, I got to see beavers in the river and hang out on the and, and hang out on the lake. So I'm
Yeah.
familiar with where you grew up. Talk about your youth growing up in North Illinois, buddy.
I mean, I had a pretty good youth. I played club soccer for Eclipse growing up when I was in high school. I played at Stevenson High School as well. I played there all
Yep.
4 years. I didn't play for the school, but I played soccer, baseball, and basketball up until my senior year of high school. So I was playing a sport always, every single day. If it wasn't one, it was the other, and it was actually like I think I was just about to go into college, and Stacy King, who was my baseball coach because I played with his son, he told me he's like, "Hey, you need to just pick one sport," and he told me
Yep.
straight up that it's not going to be basketball.
Nope.
It's
Nope. It's not going to be
not
basketball.
going to be basketball. Uh, but I just enjoyed playing with the boys, and so I still play, like I still go around and play softball sometimes and everything, but Stacey King told me, he's like, if you wanna excel in a sport, you're just gonna have to pick one and stick with it. And somehow I ended up with soccer.
So, Gordy, um, that's super cool. The thing that always interests me at this point in conversation is, um, well, so you're, as we just joked, you're not going to be a basketball star, okay?
No,
So,
I was a good tricky point guard, but not enough to make it.
but how have you? I usually bring this conversation, or this question up later in the discussion, but let's talk about it now. How do you use your size to an advantage on a soccer field?
On a soccer field, it's more of, for me, it's just being in the right spot at the right time. Um, Somehow the ball always just finds me. I mean, I usually play around some pretty good players, and they know that I excel at finishing, and I don't really have to do much work, but just be ready for when they pass me the ball to one time hit it and put it on frame.
So Gordy, have you always been a forward?
Yeah, I've been a forward basically my whole career in soccer. I've been playing for like 28 years
Okay.
now.
Um, yeah, I know. So your professional career. Well, wait a minute. Before we go there, um, let's talk about some accolades because you got all team, all state when you were in high school. And then when you were playing for Robert Morris University, you were a 3-time All-American. So I mean, you were getting. I'm losing you.
I lost you.
Yeah. Okay. We're
Okay.
back. We're back. So, but you were getting noticed, and you were producing on the field, long before you got to the professional ranks.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I went to a school with a lot of Chicago talent. There was a lot of local talent, a couple international players, and they just we had a really good team. My sophomore season, we won the conference. That was exciting, and then after that, it was more of just being a leader to the other guys and having a good squad. It was easy to recruit there because we were in downtown Chicago. So I mean, when I would go to a buddy and say, "Hey, you're a good soccer player. Come play at this college. We need you," and it really wouldn't be it wouldn't be a question because being in downtown Chicago at the college age, it was a great experience.
I know this is going ahead of the conversation a little bit, but when and who coined the Kid Dynamite nickname?
I want to say it was the announcer from St. Louis, Joe.
Okay.
He gave me, I think, right when I got traded uh, from Seattle, my rookie season.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. All right, so let's go right into that conversation. Your first professional um, work wasn't in the MASL. You were with the National Soccer League in Chicago. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. How that got started. Who contacted you, and what's all that about?
I mean, that's that's just a Chicago league, but a very top competitive league, and they used to have one of the best indoors Friday nights at the Odeum, which is a legendary place for all of indoor. It actually closed now, so we can't play
Uh,
there. We used to have games there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It would be National League Friday. Saturday would be Hispano, would be a Mexican league, and then on Sunday would be the Metro Soccer League, which was also a very competitive league at the time. And I played with the
it's
Albania
interesting. Okay,
Stars.
go ahead. Go ahead.
And
Go ahead.
yeah,
Go
some
ahead.
some guy just hit me up. He saw me when I was playing college, and he said, come play for me on Friday nights. And I said, yeah, why not?
Well, it's interesting when I did some research on the National Soccer League, that brand anyway. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know how it plays out because, as you and I both know, I mean, soccer leagues kind of come and go, different names, different same name, different leagues, that kind of thing. But the
Definitely.
history of the National Soccer League is very long under that name. I'm not sure if it's the same organization that what you were playing under, but I'm looking at the National Soccer League as something that started back in 1928 or something like that.
Yeah,
Is
this
that the
league.
same organization?
Yeah, that
Is
league has
it?
been around for a long time. Yeah.
Wow. All right. So you get picked up. I'm sorry for giggling, but
You're
you'll
fun.
understand why I'm saying. No, you'll understand why I am here in a second. Um, you get picked up by the Seattle Impact. Okay. And I don't know if I'm not going to do it, but if you want to talk about a little bit of the politics that was going on with the Seattle Impact back then, you're welcome to do so. But that didn't turn out to be the best back office, front office, whatever you want to say, going forward. That it could have been.
Yeah, no, it was a struggle out there for sure. I should have known from the start. I was young and stupid, and to me, I just all I wanted to do was play professional soccer.
Right.
Didn't matter what it took. So funny story. I will go into a little bit of it. It
Good.
started before I even got to Seattle. I got my contract. I signed it, and I was supposed to come. Let's just say it was a July 15th. I think I was supposed to go. And July 14th at about 10 p.m. Chicago time. My flight was at 6 a.m. So I'm literally about to go to bed, and this guy calls me and says, "Are you excited to come, bro?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm really excited. I'll be there. I'll see you in the morning." And he goes, "Well, I sent you a new contract, so either don't get on the plane or sign it and send it back to me." And it was maybe a fourth of what I had signed for at the start. And I'm like, "Oh my God, what is going on? I can't do this." And I was actually going to go and like help sell sponsorships and promote the team. So I was going in July. The season doesn't even start until, I was
Right.
literally stupid at the time. The season doesn't start until November. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll sign it and just try and prove myself." And
Right.
go out there, and then after the first game, I mean, we had a good showing our first game. I think there was about 2,000 fans there, our first game. And then he had the incident with the cheerleaders. And so we ended up, half of the team quit. Everybody from Seattle had quit. Nobody wanted to deal with the team. All the fans bailed on us. I mean, it was the hardest thing to promote. I mean, it was
Oh
insane. It
shit!
was
No kidding.
you were literally trying to sell a pen to somebody who has a whole package. It was insane. And so everybody hated Dion Earl. The whole city. He was front page of Seattle Times with his story. I mean, it was a big deal out there, and it kind of took a toll on all of us. All the guys bailed, and it was me and maybe 6 guys from Chicago. And the guy's like, "I'm gonna fold the team unless you can get me more players." And I'm like, "Well, I brought you all these players, we're all rookies, minus maybe 1 or 2 of us. And we're dealing with this bull crap." And it was so much stress, so much to deal with. But I mean, the guy took care of us. One of the best owners as far as taking care of players. I mean, we lived in a
Wow.
mansion. We had a pool. We had a hot tub. I mean, yeah, we had a tennis court, basketball court. We
Oh
had
wow.
our living situation was unreal. There was no complaints there. Um, Always took us out for great meals. I mean, the guy was spending like $700 on meals for the 8, 9 guys that we had, and
Wow.
it was insane to see because how much of a shit show it was behind the
Yeah.
scenes.
Yep.
Everything else, if you were just a player there and thought that you were just playing, you wouldn't have to deal with anything else. You would have loved it there. You would have never wanted that team to fold.
Wow.
Yeah, you would have never
Wow. And I
did
mean
that.
it. And I mean, I remember one game. There may have been others, but I recall one game because this owner was a player too, wasn't he? Wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean,
Player,
I
owner, coach, head of
right.
sales, whatever you equipment manager.
Because I remember going to a game in San Diego. The, yeah, yeah. I remember when you guys.
Yeah,
I got to be honest, Gordy. I don't recall. I'm sure you were on the field. I don't remember, but I remember because it was the very beginning of the controversy, in the media and how it flowed out of the Seattle area and into the national news.
yeah,
And I remember that there was already a controversy involved, but we didn't have it wasn't resolved or anything. And the Seattle Impact came to San Diego, and my focus was on this guy, the owner. I can't even remember the guy's name. I'm sorry, and I really don't want to, but
yeah.
yeah. My whole thing was here's this owner, player, manager, coach, the whole thing, playing on the field. Let's see how this turns out. And I mean, my focus was so reserved to the player, to the guy, that I couldn't even tell you what the result was. I mean, I imagine the Sockers won, but I can't remember even the result of the game.
I think it was 17-10.
7-2,
17-10.
17-10.
San Diego won that game.
Wow. Old school PASL.
Yeah, I remember Phil was not happy with his team for giving up 10 goals. And I came up to him after the game and I was like, why are you mad? You just smoked us. Like, and he was like, yeah, we shouldn't be giving up 10 goals, but I was too young at the time to even
Yeah.
difference. I was just trying to compete every time I could.
So you end up going from there to the St. Louis Ambush. Now was that a direct was that an off season move, or was that a mid season move?
Seattle folded the team. Well, they sold it to the Tacoma Stars. They finished the season, but Dion sold me and a few of the players that he had left to make some extra money before he sold the team. And it was funny because he calls me like the day before and he's like, hey, send me a list of the teams you want and you can talk to other teams. So I sent him a list of teams I want to go to. St. Louis was not on that list.
Okay.
I'm in talks with other owners, speaking, talking contracts, and next thing you know, I get a phone call from Dion, and he goes, "Pack your bags, bro. You're going to St. Louis." And I was so upset. I felt bad. I mean, I told Andrew Haynes, who was the owner of St. Louis, I told him, I said,
Right.
I don't want to go to St. Louis. And I almost just went to Chicago. So from Seattle, I actually did go to Chicago. I stayed there it was probably like 6 days before Andrew Haynes was like, hey, like, come try it out. And if you don't like it, you can go back. And I was like, okay, I'll finish my first season. So I went to St. Louis, and yeah, I didn't really enjoy my time. It was more of a chase to get our checks and stuff like that. It was a lot of dodging and everything. And it came
Wow.
to the season, and it was basically like, hey, I'm still owed, half a month of pay, and he said, sign for next year, and I'll give it to you. And of
Dude.
course, me being young and stupid, I just signed it right away and got my money. And
Okay.
then it was about mid-season again where I was just absolutely miserable, and I was like, I don't want to be here. It was, I was getting paid weeks late, and I was chasing for my checks, and it was just a headache. It was a constant headache. All I wanted to do was just play, especially after dealing with the Seattle situation. And I got on the phone with Everton and Jeff Kraft at Cedar Rapids, and they took me
Yep.
mid-season. And that's when I found my first true home. I felt like it was a home away from home. The city welcomed me with open arms, and honestly, I don't think I would have found another one until I found Utica, and Utica's been really good to me, and I'm excited to keep going with them.
Well, Gordy, at this point in the conversation, I mean, I'm gonna share another sort of analogy in my life. When I was a kid, my dad would say to me, when you go to work, you never expect your employer to pat you on the back and say good job, because when he pays you your paycheck, he is saying good job.
Exactly.
So if you don't, right, so when he doesn't pay you your paycheck on time, then it's logical to assume that he's saying bad job.
Definitely.
So right, so when
Yeah.
that was a youth lesson. I just shared with you a youth lesson that my dad told me when I was a kid. So going into the workforce and going into life, right? So now at this point in time, before you hook up with the Cedar Rapids Rampage, at this point in time, are you getting a little disillusioned with indoor soccer?
Yeah, I mean, my interest definitely was going towards outdoor at that moment for sure. I was trying. I mean, I was also told to stay at St. Louis so I could, go with St. Louis FC, or it was STLFC at the time, the USL
Right.
team. And there was just I would talk to a coach for maybe a day and never hear back. And so then I would go back to my connection and be like, hey, you said this would happen, and it was just a lot of talking and not a lot of doing, and I couldn't handle it, so I had to give a shot to a new city, and Cedar Rapids was the move.
Yeah. So Everton sort of got the reins down in Cedar Rapids. It's a brand new team. And to speak legitimately about the league itself at that time, there's a lot of attrition going on. I mean, teams are coming and going. So the league has just recently merged between the MISL and the PASL and all of that. So there's a lot of attrition going on, and the Cedar Rapids shows up, Cedar Rapids Rampage, and that's really when Gordy Gurson hit my radar. You I mean, you're playing before that, and I get that, but I mean, that's really when you hit my radar and what's going forward for your career as a seriously as a recognizable star in the league or in the sport of indoor soccer. And you stayed with the Rampage as long as they stayed there, right? As long as they stayed in Cedar Rapids, you were with the team.
Yes, definitely. I had no complaints there. Everything was smooth. I got to thank the Smiths for that. They were a family behind the scenes that was just getting more and more involved, and they really helped out with that organization. And when a team tells you you're going from Cedar Rapids to Orlando, Florida, and the ownership has been good to you, that's a no-brainer, And if you guys saw the housing that we had there,
right.
I mean, we were living in a resort. Everybody had their own room, their own bathroom. I mean, we had a pool and a hot tub in the yard. There was a whole pool park across the street with basketball, volleyball. I mean, there was soccer. It was just it was a true resort, and living there during the winter time, I mean, it was an unbelievable experience to have that year there.
And to be fair, the Cedar Rapids Rampage to the Orlando Seawolves is actually the same franchise. It's the same organization. I'm not sure about the back office and all that kind of thing, but from a legal standpoint, at least from a legal standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was mainly the same group that went over.
So when you're playing for the Orlando Seawolves, I don't want to skip a short-term time with Olympia FC Warriors. What was that?
That was an outdoor team in Australia. I played in NPL Tasmania, which was an unbelievable experience as well. Just for me as a person and as a soccer player. And that's when I was like truly okay with saying, I'm gonna stick with indoor now. I went and played outdoor, and I enjoyed it out there. I really did. There was very few Americans, but it was a great experience to say the least. The guys were great to me. I actually lived with a guy from Zion.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was my goalie for the team, and
wow.
He's actually brought me out there.
I remember you shared, or at least I saw. I don't know. I think it was your sharing, but yeah, I saw a couple of the highlights from you playing down there, down under, and it looked like you. It looked like you were having fun, and it also looked like you were respected from the team.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the guys welcomed me with open arms out there, which makes it so much easier. Out there, I was one of the older guys on the team too, so they kind of looked up to me. I was more of a leader to them, but I mean, hanging out with them, everything was okay on and off the field. We were actually a really close team.
That's really cool. So now you played also. I'm looking at a little bit of a confusion here on my timeline. What is RWB Adria?
That's a team in Chicago that has been around for years. Eusebio, who's legend in soccer, he actually played for that club.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's still around today. I've played with them for about 10 years now in Chicago. Just
Really?
in the Yeah, they used to do indoor and outdoor. They played in the National Soccer League, and they still play in the National Soccer League, but they just do outdoor with them. And yeah, so I've been playing with them for 10 years. I'm loyal. They've been good to me. I've been good to them, and it's just it's crazy the relationships you build from the sport. It really is, and the different cultures I've been with. It it's been a great experience.
Well, Gordy, I gotta second that. I mean, even from where I'm sitting, I mean, the relationships are the key. I mean, getting to know people, getting to know, the younger guys like yourself, the older guys like myself, and some of the people that are throughout. It's a small community, and it's a wonderful thing to get to know how quality the human beings are, not just in their sport, but in their heart. I mean, there's a lot of super quality and super professional people that operate within the community that you and I operate. Before we go any further in the indoor career, let me take a little bit of a side road and talk about the United States Arena Soccer. You got 28 caps. You've been playing numerous times, and I want to go. I want to go from the past to the future in this conversation with this little blurb, because I know that you were part of the very first World Mini Football World Cup here in the United States in 2015, when it was actually played with boards, and then also, what do you see coming forward for this year, this month, in the Middle East for the next upcoming World Cup? So talk about your time and your thoughts about World Mini Football and the World Cup.
I mean, I had a really good rookie season, and Phil had contacted me after, and was like, "Hey, do you want to play with the USA team in the World Cup?" And to wear the red, white, and blue, that was a no brainer, and I went for I think it was a 10-day World Cup trip. We had like 4 days in San Diego. I think we went to Tulsa, Oklahoma. We went to and then we went to Chicago for the rest. I
Right.
believe went to Ontario, San Diego, and then we went there. And yeah, what an experience that was, just for me to be a rookie and hanging around the top guys in the league and getting to see what they do on and off the field as true professionals and talking to them. And I mean, that was just one of the best experiences I've ever had playing soccer.
It's changed the format for WMF has changed. Now they bring everybody to one city, one location. Everything is played on one field. They're not trying to travel around the country. Back in 2015, I mean, it's one thing. I'm sorry, but it's one thing if you live in a country like England, but it's another thing if you live in a country the size of the United States, and you're trying to travel around to different venues and travel and play on the same day. I mean,
Yeah,
you guys would play a game and then travel and play a game that night.
I think it was 7 games in 8 days we had played.
Right. I think that's right. I believe that's correct. And I mean, I went to the games in San Diego. I think there were some games in Ontario as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I traveled up to the Ontario games as well. And that was the first World Mini Football World Cup, and as of now, the the last that has played it on our format using boards. Since then, they're playing a six-a-side outdoor, venue, short field. Mexico obviously has been a power through it all. I mean, they were semifinalists, and then they won, and now they're going in as the defending champions. Um, Gordy, have you been contacted at all to participate in the one coming up this month?
I'm in the player pool, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be selected yet to go to Dubai.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, we'd love to see you, buddy. I mean, it's
Hey,
going to be fun.
how I'm going.
Yeah, it's going to be fun either way. Either way, it's going to be fun. And one of the things, it's sort of like the TST when the soccer tournament was the soccer tournament was played this summer. It's pretty fun when you see NASL players, leave it all on the field and show their stuff against the rest of the world. And it's a pretty cool thing. I'm sure it's close to your heart.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love it. Definitely. And when I got the call for TST, that was just an experience of a lifetime as well. And I had a great time there, hanging around some true professionals as well. I mean, some that still play, some that don't play anymore, but that I've looked up to my whole life. So it was a really cool week.
Can you expand on that feeling about TST? It was an outstanding playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly love, me, I love golden goal. So the fact that every
Right.
game had
Okay.
a goal, I mean, to me, that was awesome. I love the rules. I love the structure of that tournament of how every, 5 minutes in the overtime, you lose a player. So it's kind of, makes the field bigger and gives more space, more opportunities. I mean, there was one game where we had a 2-on-2. We went down to a two
I
on
know.
two. We were down 5-2. We came back 5-5 and lost 6-5 against, I think it was the Indiana team. That was just such an exciting game. The goalie scored the goal because they were pulling out all their players, so they had to bring their goalie up. And that was just yeah, what a time that was. It was awesome. If you weren't playing, you were hanging around the fields, watching other games, hanging around with other guys, and there was a lot of MASL guys there. And
Yep.
honestly, it looked good for us having Newtown win it because they were the team with them and Vita had the most indoor guys on them, and so I was happy that Newtown won.
So I have a little bit of a, I don't know if it's a different take, but my take on the golden goal, that's not the right term. What did they call it during the tournament? There was a term they called it. Anyway, we know what we're talking about. So my take on it. What's that?
Score.
Target goal. That's right. Target goal. That's right. So my take on it relative to the Major Arena Soccer League is this. I think that a 60-minute game result, if there's a result, one goal, win, whatever, okay, if there's a result after 60 minutes, that result should stand. But the target goal concept of pulling players from the field, if after overtime, instead of going into this overtime, with and then ultimately ending in a shootout, instead of doing that, play the overtime where, just like the target goal did, where you play the overtime and every 5 minutes you pull a player, every 5 minutes you pull a player, every 5 minutes you pull a player. And so that way eventually, and then you never have to go to the shootout. And at the same time, you respect the 60-minute result of the game if there's a winner. But if it's a tie game after 60 minutes, I think that's a really good policy.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite, honestly, is hockey. 3-on-3 hockey in overtime is
right.
That's the most exciting hockey to watch. Overtime hockey, anything can happen, and there's a lot of space, and it's a hockey similar to indoor soccer. So
yeah.
Maybe had a shot.
All right, so after the Sea Wolves dissolved, and unfortunately, correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember at that point that there was some kind of ownership issue also. I seem to remember. Yeah, talk about that.
My year with the Orlando Seawolves, I was kind of seeing some of that. I mean, it wasn't all the owners. The Smiths were still very good. But yeah, one of the owners was not taking care of business the way it should have been, and it's not my business, but I saw things going a little sour. So luckily, I got out of there and went to the Tropics before then. I wish I didn't pick the Tropics, but I did because I ended up getting released. We had a great team, but I got injured and got released right after the trade deadline had happened. So I couldn't even sign with another team for the rest of the season. So was kind of harsh, but 2 weeks later, COVID happened and shut down the whole season. So I basically got a 2-week head start on heading home. Is all it was.
Was it about the same? Was this about the same time that you began your relationship with the Iowa Raptors?
The Iowa, yes, that is about the same time. It was about right after the Florida Tropics thing had happened. We were kind of moving with the Iowa Raptors, and Bobby Hurwitz is in charge of that, and we are M2 now at the time, and maybe making steps forward. We don't know, but we're happy with where we're at. We have the women's side and the men's, and we lost in the final of M2 last year. So we have a good team. We have a lot of good young players, and hopefully, it gets me some players to bring into the MASL in the future.
So let's do the same thing we did a few minutes ago on the arena soccer. Let's go ahead and kind of redirect into the Iowa Raptors story, because you're currently the general manager of that team. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so is that a men's and women's outdoors and a men's indoors? Is that what's going on there?
Yes, we have M2 indoors, and then we have the WPSL for the women's, and we were in the UPSL for the men.
Wow, that's exciting. And
Yeah.
and you talk about that, Gordy. Come on. I mean, that's got to be super exciting for you.
It is exciting, definitely, especially because, like I said, Cedar Rapids was a great city to me, and for me to be able to give back and help out the younger guys and get them seen as much as possible. I mean, when I see a good player and they're respectful and professional on and off the field, I'm gonna do what I can to help them get to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, and having the three different things going on. I mean, with the men's and women's outdoors, the M2 team. By the way, there's a on MASL Off the Wall Facebook group page. There is a very committed fan of the Iowa Raptors that is constantly posting everything that you guys put on Facebook onto MASL Off the Wall. If they aren't the most highly represented M2 team on MASL Off the Wall, I would be very surprised. I mean, I don't look at that stuff and evaluate that kind of thing, but I would bet that the Iowa Raptors are the most represented M2 team on posts on MASL Off the Wall.
That's awesome.
I think I can't remember his. I can't remember his name. I think his name is Darwin.
Darwin?
I think his name is Darwin. So, okay, so now we got the COVID thing going on. And this is where I finally got a chance to really spend some time with you when you come to the San Diego Sockers and you play that COVID season with the San Diego Sockers. This is a weird season all around because every team that's playing has been stacked with all of the best players in the league from the teams that aren't playing. And so it's a really crazy season where every single team is like an all-star team.
Yeah, players were on loan here, loan there. I mean, it was insane, but it made the league so competitive because there was limited teams, limited games. I mean, it was a crazy season, especially for us in San Diego. I mean, we were one of the only teams that didn't have a home game all season. Every game was on the road. Which is always tough in indoor soccer as it is. I mean, look at the records from last year from the home and away. I mean,
right.
I think it was night and day difference. And, to somehow come out with the championship after going in, I think we were the 6th or the 7th seed. I don't even remember. We were bottom down there. Nobody thought we would win it. And, that was a great season to remember as well.
And your former team, the Florida Tropics, actually chose to play the San Diego Sockers in the semifinals in Kansas City, and it didn't work out to their favor.
That's right. They had the choice to pick who they wanted, and they chose us, thinking they would walk all over us. Which
Yep.
I'm pretty sure we beat them during the season. I'm not 100% sure, but I think we did. In Florida as well. So I was like, now they think they're going to go to Kansas City and beat us. And, our team only improved as we got, at towards the end of the season because we picked up Savoy, Marcio, and,
Right.
you know, guys were helping out. And I couldn't believe they chose us, but, lucky they did.
Well, it was interesting too because at that same season, of course, William Van Zella came over and was playing tag teaming with Boris Pardo, and I had a chance to sort of corner Van Zella one day, and I asked him, I said, so William, are you guys going to take the championship? And he said, of course. And this was before the playoffs even started. I mean, he said, of course we are, with complete and full confidence. And and at the end of the season, when the championship was done, I readdressed him again, and he said, like a prophet, he says, of course, I knew it then, I know it now. We were going to do this. It was going to work. It was a unique and interesting season. Around the league. I don't know. You might be in a similar situation as was Chris Toth when he played up in Tacoma that season. You only played the one season. Now I know Chris is back up in Tacoma now, but the previous year he had been in Ontario. The following year he went back to Empire and in Ontario. But he played the whole season for Tacoma without ever playing a game in Tacoma, and that would be true of your stay in San Diego, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's the only team I didn't have a home game for that I played for.
Never played a home game.
Never played.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, I remember running into you during, I think it was during the championship tournament up in Ontario, and briefly, saying hi and talking to you a little bit. But yeah, I mean, what a crazy season for those teams, because everything was played in either Florida, Dallas, St. Louis, or Kansas City. I think the entire season was played in those four venues.
Or Ontario. Ontario had some games.
Well, at the end, during the regular season.
They only had 3 regular season home games.
Okay, all right.
Had a couple.
All right, so then you move from San Diego Sockers, you move to the Milwaukee Wave.
Yeah.
Now you're playing. Now, Gordy. Now you're playing with some guys that you played with before. I mean, some of these players.
Yeah, definitely. I have some family issues with my father. He's just getting a little older now, and for me, it was just to be able to play closer to home for him.
Gotcha.
I was going back and forth all the time from Milwaukee, and it was about from where my parents lived to where I was living in Milwaukee was about 50 minutes, so it was not bad at all. I was going back 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah, it was easy to deal with, and then there was just a time where I was just like, I want to go out there, and Utica's really good with me being able to go home and see my dad, so I'm not going to lose the relationship I have with Tommy and Coach Everton. So things are going good there. I'm going to stay there for at least the next 2 seasons, and we'll go from there.
And I think that brings us to the current day. You are playing at Utica City FC. You've been there for this is going to be your second season. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's my second season with them.
And can you let publicly playing? How long is your contract with Utica?
I got 2. I just signed for this year and 1 more coming up. So I got 2 more left on my contract. I just signed.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I've been with Everton for a while.
And how are you getting along with the players?
Oh, the players, I mean, unbelievable. They welcomed me with open arms from day one. So I coach at Governor State with the on the women's side, and so last season
Right.
I think I was 1 day late to preseason. I came the second day, and I thought everyone's going to be giving me shit because I missed the fitness and everything like that, and I get there and everyone's like, "Hey, what's up?" Acting like I've played with them for forever. Nate Bordeaux, the
Wow.
captain, and it was just it was easy to play there. I mean, and then my first game, I had a hat trick, so that made it a little bit easier. But um, I mean, we had a penalty kick our first game, and everybody was looking at each other, and I was like, "Hey, if somebody on the team wants it, they can take it. They've been here." And they looked at me and said, "If you want to take it," and I said, "All right, I'm going to score it." So I took it, and just for them to give me that confidence on the field and just going to a new team, and honestly, like when they were Syracuse Silver Knights,
Yep.
we had a little thing. We hated each other. I was with Cedar Rapids at the time. I mean, we had a rivalry ourselves. And I told myself, I will never play for Syracuse Silver Knights. You know what I mean? And I'm trying, good friends with all the players. I mean, they're basically the same. They got the same core group, and that group has been a good competing team for a minute now. And I'm excited to help out and be a part of that group. And now they also brought in my best friend Stefan, who's also a big
Yep.
help. And we basically just became family with them. And now it's easy.
Well, they've got a great thing going on. The promotion thing going on in Utica City is awesome. Probably one of, if not the top, one of the two top draws as far as attendance is concerned. You guys have a great fan base that is showing up and filling up the arena. And I know from experience how important that is. Not just for the feeling of the fan, but for the feeling of the player. To have that kind of support and that kind of electricity in the fans. Coming from the stands. I would be remiss, and forgive me for this, but I would be remiss, my buddy, as a fan and hearing all of the things. So let me first just throw this out there. This is all well-known stuff, but I have unapologetically put myself out there in social media, and it's not a fun place to go because I have to deal with a lot of crazies that I don't necessarily appreciate. But I love them all. I mean, I love them all. It's just there's some opinions that are a little crazy, but there's one opinion about Gordy Gurson that is constantly coming up about the Dive King. Now, can we talk about? I would, I appreciate the laughter because I would be, there would be people shooting my shit all day long if I didn't at least ask you about your response to that and what's going on about that and how do you feel about it?
So actually, I had a conversation with Everton about that at the end of last season. He goes, "Hey, I'm really proud of you," and I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "I don't think you really dove this season." he's like, "You're getting better," and I was like, it's just that when I was younger, I realized, power plays and set pieces win you games, and I was doing whatever it took to win games. And trust me, all the fans hated it. The little rivalry I had with the Syracuse Silver Knights is actually, so they did like a top 5 keys of the game, and I believe it was number 1 or number 2 when I played against in Syracuse. Number 1 or number 2 was Gordy Gurson, the flopper, and
The flopper. Yep.
and it was probably 5-10 minutes into the game. I scored a goal. And I flopped onto the ground as my celebration. And oh my God,
Oh
I
shit.
got so many boos from that crowd. They all knew what was going on. And it's been a good time, It's all about laughter, it's all about fun, and hopefully I can continue the streak and keep Everton happy this season.
Well, I mean, there are there are those in social media that get it, laugh at it, respect it, and then there are those that take it very seriously
I don't think I paid a toll on it. There's so many times where I'm getting absolutely cracked, and these refs still think that I'm flopping, and I can't even walk the
Right,
next
right.
sometimes. But I did that to myself. I kind
Yeah,
of
you
made my
did.
with that, and I'll deal with it. I'll deal with the consequences.
Well, Gordy Gurson, you're a favorite of mine, and I appreciate you. Thanks for giving me your time today. It's always fun to connect with the people whose personalities, and I mean that off the field, whose personalities I just seem to gel with, and you and I don't. It's limited time together, but for some reason, you've always been that guy, one of those guys that I just really appreciate your outgoing, personality. The way you play on the field is a part of that, and Kid Dynamite is a superstar in my eyes, and I appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing me out here too. For all the Utica fans, I can't wait to get out there. It's just a month and a couple weeks away, and I'm getting more and more excited. Training all the time. Coaching the girls, training, playing every day. I'm ready, and I'm scoring goals. I'm coming.
All right, brother. Thanks, buddy. You have a great day.
Take care. Thank you.
All right.